I used to think the worst part of any mistake was the moment it happened. That sharp silence in a meeting after something went wrong. The uneasy glances. The tension that hangs in the air like fog no one wants to breathe. But over time, I learned something much deeper. The real danger isn't in making mistakes. It's in never talking about them. For years, after every project, every event, every gathering, I moved on too quickly. If things went well, we'd celebrate for a moment and rush to the next challenge. If they went poorly, we'd sweep it under the rug and say the same old words. We'll do better next time. But next time always looked a lot like last time, because no one had truly stopped to learn. One afternoon, after a presentation that left us all strangely unsatisfied, I decided to try something new. Instead of closing with a polite, "Good work, everyone," I asked the team to stay for 10 more minutes. No agenda, no slides, no blame. Just 3 questions written on a whiteboard. What worked? What should we repeat? What should we let go? At first, the room was quiet. You could almost feel the invisible walls, pride on one side, fear on the other. So I spoke first. I said, "I think the opening ran too long. That's on me. Next time I'll cut it in half." And something shifted. One by one, people began to speak. Someone praised the visuals. Another pointed out that the handout had confused people. Someone else admitted they'd rushed through the Q&A. Within 10 minutes, we had a list, not of complaints, but of insights. And everyone walked out lighter. Not because the project was perfect, but because we had turned experience into learning before it hardened into resentment. That small moment changed everything, because reflection, when shared with kindness, becomes fuel for growth. Since that day, we made that 10-minute pause a ritual. After every meeting, every presentation, every event, we stop. Not for punishment, not for praise, but for perspective. I began to call it the keep, add, drop conversation. 3 small words that hold enormous power. Keep. What went well? What do we want to preserve next time? Add. What might make it even better? Drop. What can we gently let go of without guilt or blame? It's astonishing how much wisdom hides inside those 3 lists. When people feel safe enough to speak without fear, honesty starts to flow naturally. And when honesty becomes normal, improvement stops feeling like criticism. It starts feeling like teamwork. In the beginning, our debriefs were clumsy. Someone would take feedback personally. Someone else would get defensive. And I had to remind everyone, and myself, that this wasn't about being right. It was about being real. So I started every debrief the same way. Let's remember, we're not here to fix people. We're here to learn from moments. That one line changed everything. Because people don't grow from judgment, they grow from reflection. Reflection wrapped in kindness. Soon the process began to feel lighter, more human. It wasn't about evaluation anymore. It was about evolution. Every meeting became a small step forward, not through pressure, but through shared curiosity. We learned that growth doesn't always need motivation or deadlines. Sometimes it just needs a few people willing to talk honestly about what just happened and to listen with open hearts. That's when learning becomes alive. Soon I began to bring that same idea home. After birthdays, family dinners, or holidays that left us both joyful and exhausted, I'd look around and say, "How about a quick reflection? Just a few minutes." At first, my wife laughed. "Are we having a meeting now?" I smiled. "Maybe, but it's a meeting about happiness." We tried it once, just to see. 3 simple questions, the same as always. What do we want to keep next time? What should we add? What can we let go of? And something wonderful happened. The room got quiet in the best possible way. We discovered that some of our traditions were only habits, not joys. That ordering pizza after the holidays brought more laughter than cooking for hours. That everyone loved the morning walk, but no one missed the late-night cleanup. It was like shining a soft light on our everyday life. A 10-minute talk turned family chaos into gentle course correction. No guilt, no blame, just awareness. You see, when you stop blaming and start observing, even small adjustments feel like wisdom. And that's what this little ritual became. A way to see clearly without judging harshly. We weren't trying to perfect our lives. We were learning to enjoy them more intentionally. And I realized something powerful. The same reflection that strengthens teams can also deepen love. Because honest conversation, when rooted in kindness, always brings people closer. Not long after that, the same idea found its way into our volunteer group. We'd finished community events tired, sweaty, drained. Everyone eager to go home. Usually, people would just pack up, wave goodbye, and disappear into the night. But one evening, as the last boxes were being stacked, I said, "Before we go, can we take 5 minutes for a quick recap?" People hesitated. They were exhausted. So I made it simple. "Let's each share 3 short sentences," I said. "One thing that worked, one thing you'd improve, and one thing we can drop next time." And just like that, the energy changed. Someone spoke up first. "The turnout was great." Another added, "Next time, maybe fewer speeches." A third person smiled and said, "Let's drop the plastic cups. They blew away all day." In 5 minutes, the fatigue in the room softened into laughter. We ended the night not with tension, but with connection. It felt like closing a story instead of just finishing a task. That tiny debrief became our habit. Every event ended with reflection. Simple, human, and real. We started noticing details we'd never seen before. How one extra volunteer made registration smoother. How a warm greeting at the door mattered more than perfect decorations. Soon, people looked forward to those few minutes. They became the soul of our teamwork, a space where we celebrated, laughed, and learned all at once. I began to understand something. Reflection loses its strength when delayed. If you wait a week, memory fades. If you wait a month, emotion turns to frustration. But if you pause right after, while the air is still warm with feeling, learning becomes alive, because the mind is freshest when the heart is still honest. Not long after that, the same idea found its way into our volunteer group. We'd finished community events tired, sweaty, drained. Everyone eager to go home. Usually, people would just pack up, wave goodbye, and disappear into the night. But one evening, as the last boxes were being stacked, I said, "Before we go, Can we take 5 minutes for a quick recap? People hesitated. They were exhausted. So I made it simple. Let's each share 3 short sentences, I said. One thing that worked, one thing you'd improve, and one thing we can drop next time. And just like that, the energy changed. Someone spoke up first. The turnout was great. Another added, next time, maybe fewer speeches. A third person smiled and said, let's drop the plastic cups. They blew away all day. In 5 minutes, the fatigue in the room softened into laughter. We ended the night not with tension, but with connection. It felt like closing a story instead of just finishing a task. That tiny debrief became our habit. Every event ended with reflection. Simple, human, and real. We started noticing details we'd never seen before. How one extra volunteer made registration smoother. How a warm greeting at the door mattered more than perfect decorations. Soon, people looked forward to those few minutes. They became the soul of our teamwork, a space where we celebrated, laughed, and learned all at once. I began to understand something. Reflection loses its strength when delayed. If you wait a week, memory fades. If you wait a month, emotion turns to frustration. But if you pause right after, while the air is still warm with feeling, learning becomes alive, because the mind is freshest when the heart is still honest. Now, after every presentation, our process is simple. We gather around the same whiteboard. Someone draws 3 columns: keep, add, drop. And together we fill them in. We don't leave the room until there's at least 1 note in each column. Sometimes the keep list is long, and that's a reason to smile. Sometimes the drop list is longer, and that's perfectly fine too. Either way, we walk out wiser. Here's what I started to notice. When people know there's always time to reflect after, they behave differently during. They listen more carefully. They take mental notes. They notice the little things they'd usually miss. Because they know that later, we won't be asking, who was right? We'll be asking, what did we learn? That simple promise of reflection, it changes everything. It turns pressure into presence. It replaces fear with curiosity. The magic of those debriefs isn't in the whiteboard or the structure. It's in the mindset they create. They remind us that every moment, every mistake, every success is a classroom if we choose to treat it that way. And that's what I love most about this ritual. It turns work into wisdom. It transforms the ordinary rhythm of tasks into a living conversation about how to grow together. In that space, there's no hierarchy, no performance, just people learning side by side. The office becomes something softer, truer, a living classroom built from trust. Sometimes I think about how different our world could feel if more people practiced this simple art. How many arguments could fade before they turned into walls? How many marriages could breathe easier if, instead of years of quiet frustration, someone simply said, let's talk for 10 minutes about what worked and what didn't? How many offices could heal if leaders replaced the question, who messed up, with, what can we learn? How many friendships could deepen if we treated misunderstandings as lessons instead of battles? A 10-minute conversation won't fix everything, but it can open a window. And sometimes that's all a room needs to breathe again. There's a quiet truth I've learned through these debriefs. People don't resist feedback. They resist feeling unloved while receiving it. When people feel respected, even the hardest truth becomes a gift. That's why I always start our reflections the same way, with gratitude. We begin by naming what worked first, because gratitude is the soil where honesty grows best. When you start with warmth, truth doesn't sting, it shines. And that small shift changes the entire conversation. It softens hearts. It reminds everyone that we're not here to accuse, we're here to evolve. You see, when feedback is wrapped in love, it doesn't push people away. It pulls them forward. It makes honesty feel safe, even sacred. That's the hidden power of reflection. It teaches us how to speak truth with compassion. Let me share 3 small practices you can try today. They're simple, quiet, and they fit right into ordinary life. No big meeting, no special tools, just a little time and intention. Step 1. The 10-minute pause. After every meeting, project, or gathering, no matter how small, take 10 minutes to reflect together. Don't delay it. Don't plan it for next week. Do it while the moment is still alive, before memory fades into opinion. You'll be amazed at how much clarity hides in those few minutes. Write down what people say, not to keep score, but to capture wisdom before it disappears. Step 2. The keep, add, drop framework. Use those same 3 words. Keep honors what worked. Add invites creativity. Drop releases what no longer serves you. They create a gentle balance, appreciation without complacency, improvement without blame. And because the structure is so simple, everyone feels safe to join in. It's not a performance review. It's a conversation about learning. Step 3. Apply one lesson immediately. Don't let your notes sleep in a folder. Choose one insight, just one, and apply it in your very next action. Maybe it's starting a meeting 5 minutes earlier. Maybe it's simplifying a report. Maybe it's replacing tension with a smile. When people see that reflection leads to real change, they begin to trust the process. And that trust fuels growth far more than any rule or deadline ever could. Over time, you'll start to notice a shift. Those little 10-minute debriefs will shape your culture, your relationships, even your mindset. Your team will expect honesty without fear. Your home will echo with small, thoughtful conversations instead of unspoken tension. Your heart will learn to see mistakes not as failures, but as unfinished lessons. That's when reflection stops being a task and becomes a way of living.
There's a phrase that guides me every time I reflect. The past is a teacher, not a judge. If you remember that, you'll approach every debrief with kindness instead of blame. You'll stop asking, "Who caused this?" and start asking, "What can we learn from it?" And that small shift, from judgment to curiosity, is the difference between shame and growth. One evening after a long community event, we gathered in a circle under the fading light. Everyone was tired. No one wanted another meeting. But I asked softly, "Before we go, can we share 3 short reflections?" Someone sighed, stretched, and said,
All right, I'll start. They smiled. I'm proud of how many people showed up today. Another voice followed. Next time, maybe fewer speeches. Laughter rippled through the group. Then someone added, let's drop the plastic cups. They blew away all day. We all nodded. It took maybe 7 minutes, and in those 7 minutes, something unspoken happened. We ended the day not with exhaustion, but with connection. The event was over, but the meaning had just begun. That's what reflection does. It turns moments into memories, and memories into wisdom. It transforms endings into beginnings. When I look back now, I see that most of my growth never came from victories. It came from small, honest conversations, spoken soon after something real had happened. That's where understanding lives, not in perfection, but in perspective. You don't need to be a leader to create that kind of space. You just need to care enough to pause. Because in a world that's always rushing forward, pausing is an act of courage. And learning without blame, that's an act of love.
So tonight, before you close your day, take 10 quiet minutes. Sit somewhere still, maybe at your desk, maybe by a window, maybe beside your bed. Breathe and ask yourself 3 simple questions. What do I want to keep? What might I add? What can I gently let go? You don't need perfect answers. You just need honest ones. Write them down if you can, not as goals, but as gentle reminders. Then, when tomorrow comes, choose one small thing from that list and bring it to life. Because reflection without action is memory. But reflection with action, that's growth. We all stumble, we all try, fail, adjust, and try again. That's not failure. That's rhythm. The rhythm of every strong team, every loving family, every person who's still learning how to live well. The goal isn't to be flawless. It's to be learning, to stay curious, to keep growing through every experience, even the imperfect ones. So make it a ritual, that 10-minute pause between doing and becoming. Let it soften your edges and sharpen your vision. Let it turn your mistakes into teachers and your successes into guides. And when the next project ends, when the chairs are stacked, the lights dim, and the noise fades, gather your people, smile, and say, let's talk. Not to judge, but to grow. Because tomorrow's wisdom is hidden inside today's reflection. And tomorrow may never come. But tonight is here, gentle, waiting, ready for you to learn from it.